The new 10 p.m. report is coming up next on Television 4.
In 1977 and 78.
WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul. From the WCCO Television newsrooms in the Twin Cities and Washington, D.C., this is the 10 p.m. report. With Dave Moore, Pat Miles, Skip Loescher, Mike Fairbourne, Mark Rosen, and tonight's special report.
This is Al Austin. Tonight, the I-Team presents its investigation of the road work done by state highway repair crews.
Good evening, everyone. November 2nd, 1982 may well prove to be a national referendum on Reaganomics. Analysts tell us that the overwhelming issue before the American electorate is the state of the economy. And when the lever is thrown, it will prove to be curtains for the president's party or for those who oppose him. With that in mind, President Ronald Reagan took to the national airwaves tonight for what he called a nonpartisan address. Skip Loescher is in Washington. Skip.
The president's message tonight was a simple one, and the essence of it was the phrase which just happens to be this year's Republican campaign theme line.
We can do it, my fellow Americans, by staying the course.
Warning that there's no shortcut to curing unemployment, Mr. Reagan used simple video graphics to point out that interest rates, government spending have gone down, and to emphasize that unemployment is always the last thing to turn around.
That at long last, your government has a program in place that faces our problems and has already started solving them. Make no mistake, America is recovery bound, and the world knows it.
Democrats strongly disagree, and as Minnesota Congressman Jim Oberstar put it when we spoke with him here in Washington tonight, if the president does stay the course,
then we'll have the recession extended depression style to beyond northeastern Minnesota.
Oberstar blames the president's increased defense spending for hurting the economy.
The president won't change his course, won't cut back on the defense spending, and will not relent on the tax increases or tax decreases and the indexing of taxation. Then we'll need to have some direct government outlays for infrastructure, rebuilding the roads and streets and putting America back to work with the private sector doing the job.
So as it turns out tonight, David, both the speech and the reaction to it were highly political.
Immediately following our 10 p.m. report tonight, CBS will broadcast a Democratic response to the president called Voices of Opposition. The banking industry adopted a 12% prime interest rate today. That's a full percentage point lower than yesterday's rate. And there is a trend toward lower mortgage rates, spurring new interest in home buying. Pat?
Causing a sigh of relief, Dave, for many people. Well, when home interest rates were high, many home buyers entered into short-term contract for deed loans, commonly called balloons. In 1979, there were 10,000 balloon mortgages in the Twin Cities. Now some of those balloons are coming due, and coupled with falling interest rates, mortgage companies are scurrying. Here's Debbie Ely.
Mortgage companies have had to get more competitive lately. They've done more advertising and even gone to mailing out circulars. The reason is the interest rates are coming down. As that happens, many homeowners who have balloon payments must shop around for the lowest loan rate. Mortgage bankers say that in addition to shopping around, they're taking their time.
When the rates stayed level for a period of time, for 5 or 6 months, if it got close, they decided now was as good a time as any. Whereas today, most people are thinking, well, if I've got 6 months, I'll wait 2 or 3 yet and see if I can get a lower rate yet.
Mike Walk is case in point. He needs $15,000 to pay off his balloon note on his Stillwater home. It's due in December. While he's had loan approval for 2 months, the interest rates have caused him to wait.
When my loan was approved in August, basically the rates at that time were at 16 3/4. They're currently at 15 1/4.
How much have you saved by waiting?
Approximately $40 a month.
But as the interest rates fall, the discount points paid to get that lower rate go up. Still, Mike says he'd rather pay a couple $100 extra now than thousands of dollars more over the course of the loan. Debbie Ely, WCCO Television News, the Twin Cities.
Money, the main issue in a nurses' strike set to begin at 6:45 tomorrow morning at Red Wings Only Hospital. Mike Loescher was there today as nurses at St. John's Hospital voted to back their salary demands with some action.
St. John's will continue to provide emergency medical service and to care for about 30 patients with non-union RNs, supervisors, and LPNs. The hospital also says it will offer all its usual services, but not elective surgery. The nurses who met today voted 40-4 to reject yesterday's offer. They say they're offended that the hospital was what they call downright cheap in the negotiations, while at the same time, St. John's found $5 million to expand the 115-bed facility. The hospital is not making formal statements on the dispute yet, saying only that yesterday's offer would have made its RNs the second highest paid for a hospital of this size in Minnesota. The nurses say they have made plans to take care of their financial needs if there is a strike, and they believe they can hold out for as long as it'll take to get what they consider a fair settlement. With photographer John Seidlitz, I'm Mike Loescher, WCCO Television News in Red Wing.
And if the nurses do walk off their jobs tomorrow, it will be the first nurses' strike at St. John's Hospital.
With the continuing oil glut, the time-honored American tradition of fill her up has become fashionable once again. Gasoline prices have actually fallen in the past year, and the American dream of a full tank and a clean windshield appears to be back with us. But it wasn't all that long ago when we were waiting in long lines for our limited gasoline supply, or waiting until the next odd or even day. We all learned firsthand about energy shortage then, and the word from Washington tonight is that the era of shortages may be back sooner than anyone would care to admit.
We are all living under a false sense of security when it comes to gasoline supplies, at least according to the International Energy Agency. That group says there's a glut of oil now, partially because the recession has kept industrial production down. The agency claims that when the world economy turns around, the demand for energy will surpass available production by the mid to late 80s. When that happens, gasoline will become expensive and scarce. And if and when that occurs, the agency says that oil exporting countries will once again have a powerful threat against the United States and other industrialized countries. But now for some good news.
The amount of the bid is $148,871,130.
The auction, the biggest in U.S. oil lease history. Over $2 billion in leases sold today. The oil companies bought the right to drill for oil and natural gas in the Diaper Field off Alaska's North Shore near Prudhoe Bay. According to the Interior Department, the companies are 95% sure of being successful. It estimates the Diaper Field holds as much as 4.7 billion barrels of oil and 1.8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. And David, that is about as close as you can get to a sure thing.
And if you're keeping a Wall Street scorecard, prices shot ahead again today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up over 11 points, closing over the 1,000 mark once again. Significant is the fact that this was the second highest trading volume day in Wall Street history. We'll be back with more of the 10 p.m. report in just a moment. In Iowa this week, a 15-year-old girl was accused of shooting and stabbing her 37-year-old father to death. And not long ago, the small town of Lisle, Minnesota, was shocked to learn that a 14-year-old boy had been arrested for the murder of a local school teacher. So juvenile crime is no longer merely the occasional act of vandalism. It's becoming more violent, and that's raising a major dilemma for the juvenile crime system.
Dave, it really goes back to the old question of whether juvenile offenders should have special rights once they do get into trouble. Now, some people are proposing that Minnesota's juvenile justice system be modified so that a parent of a juvenile would have to be present during any police questioning. However, authorities in Hennepin County have a different view. Dave Nimmer reports.
Proponents for the change argue that juveniles are not sophisticated enough to decide for themselves whether to talk to a policeman or an assistant school principal. Authorities in Hennepin County now regularly question juveniles not in the company of their parents, but they always advise the youngsters of their rights. And that, says the judge who handles 4,000 cases a year, is sufficient.
For instance, a child who's 17 years old who may have had 15 police contacts, to say that he's not mature enough to talk to the police is absurd.
Judge Oleski says that trying to find a parent in every case will cause needless delays and mean that fewer juvenile crimes are solved. Paul Costello, a veteran liaison officer at Roosevelt High School in Minneapolis, agrees. And today he was on the phone with one crime victim talking about 3 girls who forged her name on a check. And it illustrates the problem.
They're all 13 to 15 years of age, and they all live right in the neighborhood, and they all attend Falwell Junior High School. And I've talked to one parent. I'm trying to get a hold of the other 2, but it's kind of difficult right now.
Whether or not the rules that govern these juvenile proceedings are to be changed is something for the Minnesota Supreme Court to decide. And that body will hold public hearings on the issue November the 16th. Dave Nimmer, WCCO Television News in Minneapolis.
A 22-year-old woman driving the wrong way down I-35W was killed early today after colliding head-on with another car. Authorities say they have no clue as to why Barbara Jo Mulligan was driving north in the southbound lane. Ronald Sayers, the driver of the car Mulligan hit, is listed tonight in critical condition at Hennepin County Medical Center.
And there's more violent activity to report from Poland and from elsewhere around the world today, Skip.
David, the military crackdown in Poland brought pro-solidarity strikes to an end in the port of Gdansk, the scene of violence the past 2 nights. Demonstrators now face prison terms of up to 5 years. But in suburban Krakow today, riot police used tear gas, concussion grenades, and water cannon against the protest march by steel workers from Poland. And in the Mideast, fighting erupted for a very short time between Israeli and Syrian troops near Beirut. Today, though, that battle lasted just 15 minutes.
On Monday, Mike Fairbourne predicted a triumphant return of the sun by late this afternoon. Oh, there he is now. Anything to say in your defense, sir?
I just said that it wouldn't occur before 2 o'clock this afternoon. Is that what I said?
Did it occur at all?
I didn't say it would happen after either, did I?
Did it occur at all, ever, anywhere?
That's right, it didn't. Where'd the rainfall go? I'll show you. We did have some reports of some sunshine around the Twin Cities earlier this morning, but it certainly was not long-lasting at all. The rainfall associated with that disturbance all off the East Coast now. The satellite picture continues to show the clouds moving very, very slowly off the east, and if we take a look at that, we can see the fact that the clouds persisted over us. They're still extending all the way down into the midsection of the country that gave the cloudy conditions for the ball game tonight, but there was some clearing taking place right up here. Look at that right there. Went away very quickly, just about as fast as it went away in real life, too. That was the little bit of clearing that we had right over the southern part of the cities for just a brief time today, but the clearing line is coming in. And where it was cloudy, the temperatures were held down again, 40s and 50s. But look out here in the west, where the sunshine was, where it did break out, some 60s up to near 70 degrees in a few locations. We're looking for that tomorrow. Our current conditions right now are 47 degrees, southwest winds at 8, humidity 74% with a barometer reading of 3002, and the barometer's falling. On the weather guide today, 52 degrees is all we got up to, still remaining below the average temperature and a long way from either one of the records. Officially, only a trace of precipitation fell. Well, our high temperatures for tomorrow, still going to see temperatures basically in the 50s, but we could get up to near 60 degrees as we finally get some clearing and that sunshine pushing that temperature up a little bit. The storm system itself has finally moved off the east coast, and tomorrow, as this little weak front pushes southward through us, we will see some clearing skies here tomorrow. So we're staying still, mostly cloudy tonight. Winds out of the west-southwest at 8 to 18, a low of around 40 degrees, but by tomorrow we will have clearing and it will be warmer, getting up to around 60 with northwest winds at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Then for Thursday night and Friday, clear to partly cloudy, an overnight low tomorrow night of 40, getting up to around 62 degrees on Friday as we head into the weekend. And our weekend doesn't look really too bad either. A chance of some showers on Sunday, and then a cooling trend. We'll be cooling down from, the upper 50s, low 60s, down into the upper 40s by Monday. So get out and enjoy maybe the last decent weekend for a while.
Oh, dear. Don't say that.
Well, we didn't have a good one last weekend, that's for sure.
Right. Nice work. Thank you. Leading the cast of characters of our In Brief section tonight are two American athletes, one of the distant past, the other of the more recent past. The state of Minnesota wants more than $35,000 from former Vikings defensive end number 81, Carl Eller. That's how much he owes in back taxes from 1978 to 1980. The legendary American Indian athlete Jim Thorpe will receive 2 Olympic gold medals 70 years late. He won them in 1912 but never received them because he played semi-pro ball. Today, Olympic officials changed their mind. They'll present the medals to Thorpe's daughter. 2 anti-nuclear activists beat out some big names for this year's Nobel Peace Prize. One's a Swede, Alva Myrdal. The other's from Mexico, Alfonso Garcia Robles. Their competitors included the Pope, Lech Walesa, and Philip Habib. The royal reins were pulled in early on England's Prince Andrew. He returned to London today from a Caribbean holiday with American soft porn movie actress Koo Stark. The Queen is said to be furious about the rendezvous. And we'll be back with more of the new 10 p.m. report in just a moment. The I-Team is with us once again tonight, presenting part 3 of its series examining Minnesota highway workers. Here's Al Austin.
This story began with a gripe so common it had become a cliche. Minnesota highway workers spend too much time at taxpayers' expense standing around. We found the cliche is absolutely true. One highway after another. One highway crew after another. Men and women leaning on their shovels. But maybe it isn't the workers' fault. We showed excerpts of our surveillance tapes to quite a few people. We showed them to representatives of the workers. It made them angry.
It's a morale problem, and we know that morale problem's there. This isn't going to help it. You're going to destroy whatever morale there is possible in a goddamn highway department. And it's because the people that work for the highway department have been hammered by the public constantly. We've had guys spit on, throwing rocks at. We had a guy spit on yesterday because he had to slow some traffic down. You know, I mean, that's the kind of thing we put up on a daily basis. People swear at you. Why don't you get a job, you lazy bum?
We showed the workmen scenes of 2 small pothole patching jobs, which might easily have been done in one day. The oversized crew, moving at an agonizingly slow pace, had made the jobs last 2 days.
Them jobs can keep getting done, but you only get told to do so much a day, and it's...
Well, no, wait, are you saying that there isn't enough to do?
No, there's plenty to do.
Oh, but they aren't being scheduled.
Probably not the way they should be.
We showed the tapes to efficiency experts. They also said it isn't the workers' fault, but rather poor planning. Too many men on jobs too small. No apparent challenge. Not enough supervision or equipment. So we moved up in search of the blame. The foremen and supervisors, who should be leading these workers through one job and on to the next without delay. We showed the tapes to some of them. Do you think there's adequate planning and supervision to keep the men as active as they ought to be?
I think in the most part there is. There's probably there's some fallacies there, I'm sure, that they have to be looked into, but I think for the most part there is.
This to me seemed rather shocking, and it seemed to me that there ought to be something done about it. Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree at all.
Something maybe a little drastic done about it.
And there are things done about it whenever these things are found out.
And why haven't they been found out? The public, obviously, has known all along that the waste was there. We moved up one more notch. We asked the deputy commissioner and other top state transportation officials what they thought about the public impression of maintenance workers as shovel leaners.
I don't know of another workforce around that's in a fishbowl as much as the maintenance worker. It's just the nature of the job. He's out there on the highway. He's visible at all times to millions of eyes going by him. If he lets up for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and leans on that shovel, 10,000 cars have gone by.
So we showed these officials what we'd seen. Not a passing glance at a 5-minute break, but weeks of surveillance. We showed tapes of 10 highway crews whose work ranged from slow to slower to stopped. Do these scenes surprise you?
I'm sure you're looking for a comment here. The pictures you have there are not something that I can respond to as why some of the pictures are as they are.
Kurt, I saw you nodding.
It surprises me. I didn't really expect that there was this much, this type of thing going on.
The photos you show there would raise the question of what was the purpose of some of those people.
But why didn't transportation officials know what those people were doing? Transportation Commissioner Richard Braun. When a taxpayer sees a worker leaning on his shovel, and when viewers see some of the pictures that we have taken, there's going to be some anger.
Mm-hmm.
Who should that anger be directed against? Who's to blame for these pictures?
Well, as I said, I think that you have to share the blame from the top to the bottom. You can't point to the union and say it's their problem, or middle management union say it's their problem, or top management, and it's that it would be their problem exclusively. I think it's everyone, and I think the blame has to be shared.
Commissioner Braun wasted no time coming up with a 4-point plan he thinks will deal with the embarrassing problem we exposed, bringing new motivation, supervision, and efficiency to highway maintenance. Tomorrow night, in the concluding report of this series, we'll see an early sample of the new look in highway repair and kick around some other ideas. Dave?
The new 10 p.m. report will resume momentarily. Last I heard, the Cardinals were coming back. Had tied the Brewers in the 8th inning, right?
Well, Dave, they're on the verge right now of clinching the second game, evening the series at a game apiece. The Cardinals now leading Milwaukee 5-4, 2 outs, top of the 9th. Bruce Sutter in there for St. Louis. Once again, tonight, the Brewers opened up an early lead. Ted Simmons' solo homer in the 3rd put Milwaukee up 3-zip. St. Louis countered with a pair of runs in the bottom of that frame, but Cecil Cooper here stretched the Brewers' lead to 4-2. With this RBI single off Jim Cott in the 5th, Robin Yount scored on the play. Cott will turn 44 next month. Darrell Porter hit a measly .231 during the regular season, but he has been the Cardinals' main man in the playoffs. Porter brought this capacity crowd and his team back to life with a 2-out, 2-run double here in the 6th inning. Ken Oberkville and George Hendrick crossed the plate while Ben Ogilvy's throw almost bounced into the dugout, allowing Porter to take 3rd, 4-all. Steve Braun drew a bases-loaded walk, bottom of the 8th. The St. Louis Cardinals have just won the game 5-4 over Milwaukee. Game 3 is Friday night back in Milwaukee. Well, they're finally getting serious about trying to get the 4-week-old NFL strike settled. Mediator Sam Cagle told the union and management reps to be prepared to go round the clock for 4 straight days. Now, at a luncheon in the cities today, Vikings owner Max Winter told me he feels confident a settlement will be reached in time to resume the season 1 week from Sunday. And over the past 4 weeks, Dave Huffman's name has been mentioned more than in the past 4 years. Dave has gone from being an obscure offensive lineman to the main spokesman for the Vikings during the strike. Well, today I asked Dave if he's enjoyed all the attention he's been receiving.
When this thing gets settled, I'll go back to my normal place on the end of the bench watching the cheerleaders once again. I just am interested in this situation. It's something that affects me as not being a starter. I do play on a few things, but again, it's something that needed to be done. It's an unexpected joy to be able to talking to big stars like you. But I'll go back to my my cubby hole, and there's no problem with that at all. That's part of the business.
Well, it seems a bit odd to fire a head coach in the midst of this strike, but apparently that's exactly what the Seattle Seahawks have done. The Seattle Times reported that Seahawk coach Jack Patera is on his way out, along with Seattle general manager John Thompson. The North Stars' Willie Plett is awaiting word on the length of his suspension from the NHL. Plett's stick-swinging case was heard in Toronto today, but a ruling will not be announced until tomorrow. Now, the North Stars host Toronto tomorrow night at the Met Sports Center. In the National Hockey League tonight, the Rangers beat Philadelphia 5-2. Washington over Toronto 5-3. Chicago has beaten St. Louis by the score of 6-4. I must admit it was a bit strange walking into Williams Arena this afternoon for the Gophers picture day and not seeing Darryl Mitchell, Trent Tucker, and Gary Holmes. With the departure of that threesome, the Big Ten champs will definitely have a new look this year. As former Marquette coach Al McGuire has said, every season we get a year older, every season the players are still 18. Among the new freshmen I think you're going to enjoy watching this year are guards Mark Wilson and Alonzo Scanes and 6'11" John Shasky. Dave, the Gophers will have perhaps the fastest team they've ever had under Jim Dutcher.
Fine, Mark. Stay there. I want you to see this. Even at this early stage of our new 10 p.m. report, many of you have let us know how much you appreciate the presence of Mark Rosen, that for all his apparent youth, his commentary, particularly in the area of baseball, indicates a maturity beyond Mark's mere 30 years. Well, we're here to tell you that Mark is no novice at this business. Let's go back 17 years in the 65 World Series. Who can forget Bob Allison's wondrous catch in left field that helped the Twins to a 5-1 victory over the Dodgers and the fabled Sandy Koufax? Next scene coming up, one that we'll never forget. Zoilo Versailles, Billy Martin, Coach Martin. Versailles' 3-run homer into the Mets' left field bleachers, spiriting the Twins to an 8-2 victory over the redoubtable Don Drysdale. And here, taking it all in, and aware of precisely where that camera was, the mature 13-year-old Mark Rosen. So you see, folks, when you watch the new 10 p.m. report, you're not dealing with kids. On the other hand, Mike Fairbourne says it will be partly sunny tomorrow with a high of 60. We hope you enjoy the sunshine. Thank you and good night.
With the money I spent on this car, it's really got